Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of Experience Kills, the podcast live. No, we're probably not going to call it that. Just Experience Kills, Richard.
I think we just call it Experience Kills.
Just Experience Kills.
Other people will call it what they like.
They will indeed. Obviously, with me right now, I have my co-creator, the most important man in my life, Richard.
That's touching. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
And I am, as always, podcast host and the other co-creator of Experience Kills. And we've been away since the very start of the year when we did our Game of the Year podcast on our previous name, because we decided to change things up, didn't we, Rich? We decided to alter the format and the name of the site and the way we produce content and everything, really. And that's why we're now coming at you as Experience Kills. And we haven't really spoken to you guys, the listeners, the viewers, the audience for this channel directly until now. And I wanted to address that. That's why we've got this podcast finally happening. But yeah, we kind of did a soft launch, soft reboot. So let's just talk to that a little bit, eh, Rich? What do you want to start? You want to talk about some of the reasoning behind this? Like,
yeah,
what we were thinking?
There's a few different strands that came into the relaunch, wasn't there? So firstly, we had the name change. We used to be Brit Xbox. We changed to BXB when we went multi-format. BXB meant fuck all. So we thought maybe we should change that to something that means something to us, something that's going to be more identifiable to our listeners. And you came up with Experience Kills, just to sort of reflect that we're two aging gentlemen with a background in video games. I think we pretty much know our gaming history. We know what we're talking about in terms of what's coming up with video games, and we still really love games with a passion.
Yeah.
So that's what we're about. We also changed how we deliver content to you guys. So my writing, as it was, I used to do a lot of written reviews. That's pretty much gone, at least for now. We're sort of using new media. So we're using more of the YouTube, Twitter, and getting video and audio content across to you in a more easily digestible way. That's the way people are using video game criticism now.
Absolutely. I mean, it was the one thing I always thought about the way we used to do things with the reviews is it was an isolating experience. You know, one of the things that me and Richard has always enjoyed the most was getting together for our podcast. And we were like, well, how can we do more of that without killing ourselves? So let's make it so that basically we do these small podcasts. For all intents and purposes, that's what they are, focused on just one specific game. And that'll be the reviews, that'll be the coverage, that'll be everything we do for that game in that moment. Now we might revisit things, you know, we might go into a bit more depth in these more traditional podcasts, perhaps, which we'll do on some kind of regular/irregular basis, which we're still working out. But yeah, we kind of just wanted to get together as predominantly me and Rich, because the other thing that we've noticed over the years of doing BXB Games is that we've had some amazing guest contributors. People who have come and written for us and been on the podcast for us, like Chris and Joel and people like that. But everybody has other commitments, and it's sometimes very difficult to stay for long periods of time doing this kind of thing. So we were like, well, what can we do that can just rely on me and Richard? Because we know we'll always be involved with this. So being able to get together to talk about these specific games on a weekly basis, we've got a day we particularly do them on, usually every week, and it's just easier, and it's kind of, I think, more fun to listen to and to watch. And we've also got Cameron back on board as well now, but I'm doing the same thing with him, and I'm hoping to get him involved with these podcasts, but obviously scheduling permitted as well. But yeah, I think it's been about a month now, Rich. I think it's going quite well.
Yeah, I feel like we've got more of a brand. I think the way that we're delivering content game by game is more digestible for listeners, hopefully, but easier for you and I to really focus in on what we want to play, what we want to talk about at the time, without it being too much of a grind to get through. We have done 2 hour, 3 hour, maybe longer podcasts before. That's great. I mean, there's podcasts I listen to that run that long. That's not a criticism of anybody else, but I think for us, it's I think we found a sweet spot there that we can just deliver more content in bite-sized chunks that hopefully people will warm to.
But yeah, absolutely taking on feedback. So by all means, if you guys feel differently, you know, what I have seen is a massive increase in our YouTube subscribers since we started this new format. Obviously, that's been off the back of some of our big releases. We actually kind of relaunched the whole thing with my hands-on preview of Metro Exodus about a month ago, which was huge for us and got really good traction. And that was super satisfying to see that people cared about that. But people have also said to me, "Oh, I really miss that podcast where you guys don't just focus on a game, where you chat about news, where you talk a little bit about, you know, what you've been doing and stuff." Because, you know, people want to know about, weirdly, about us specifically, Richard, which is a little bit creepy. But I also kind of like it because I've got a massive ego. Don't tell anyone. But like,
more weird for me because I don't get these messages. So you've got people telling you they want to hear about me, have you?
I have. I actually have, because I force a lot of my co-workers to give me feedback on these things. Because I have a good group of people there that are interested in gaming. So unlike maybe yourself, Richard, which would just be weird if you made them do it at your work, I suppose. But maybe you should. You're the boss. You could totally do it. It'd be hilarious. But no, that I've got some great feedback from those guys, and it's as well as some stuff on Twitter and stuff over social media and things like that. But yeah, so here it is, talking to the audience a bit more directly, and we would love for you to talk back. So please get on Twitter and message us, tell us what you're thinking. And, you know, I didn't used to pimp this, but it has become much more important now, is that please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and like those videos and share them, and get on. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. We're all over the place now for the audio stuff. So yeah, just help us get out there, because the more you do that, the more we can do for you guys. So yeah, this is a brand new beginning for us, and I think it's super exciting and super cool. And we're far from done, you know, with this. You know, the fact that we're doing this podcast right now is on Google Hangouts is not necessarily the ideal way we want to do it. And I think going forward things will change, and you're going to notice the audio version does get more production values, as it were, down the line. So we are working on things like musical beds and stings and all kinds of stuff like that to be a bit more professional. But, you know, I think we have the blueprint in place right now for what will be, you know, Experience Kills going forwards.
Well, we got new logos now, at least.
Much better logos, Richard. I have to say, we love the logos.
Thanks.
That's all right. Richard learnt GIMP, isn't it? Image editor. Yeah, to do this.
Yeah, had a faff about with that. Turned out okay, I think.
It turned out very well. I mean, you know, and it's still evolving, obviously, and iterating and stuff. You know, that's the thing. You're never done, not completely. Especially when you're a little group of people, like literally just two of us. So, you know, just working all this out. We're still ironing out the kinks and stuff. But I think for a first month, we've got a nice slate of videos that have gone up. And yeah, one of the things, just to make this clear, is that there are audio versions of every video. So we have dedicated podcast feed for that, which is on Spotify, which is on iTunes, which has got its own RSS feed. But obviously you can watch it on YouTube, or listen if you have, the YouTube membership thing. You can then listen when the screen is off on your phone, but I don't want to pay for that. But Spotify is the cool way. Find us on Spotify. Yeah, and just give us some feedback. Tell us what you think about things. But unless there's anything else you want to add, Richard, we'll actually get into a little bit of a general podcast.
Yeah, let's close the curtain off and get back into what we do, shall we?
Let's do it. So how have you been, man? Have you watched anything, or, like, you know, done anything outside of gaming recently that you wanted to mention?
I tell you what, I've barely played any games over this past month. Like, last year was mental for me, like boosting gamer score, doing 7,000-8,000 Gs a month. Now I'm doing 100, and I'm just not playing any games. So yes, in answer to your question, I have done everything outside of games. What have I been watching? Lots of Netflix stuff. You mentioned before we started recording Titans. I have watched all of that. Should we have a talk about that? Because
let's talk about Titans.
Yeah,
yeah. I was super blown away by how good this show was. Yeah. So Titans is this first show under this sort of DC's own umbrella streaming service, which only exists in America. So because of that, we get it on Netflix in the UK. So this is like this in-house production, which basically means that they've opened the door to anything and everything that the creators want to use within this show. So instead of like what we've noticed with, say, the DC shows on CW, like Arrow and Flash, which feel a bit restricted as to what they can play with, Titans just went for it in a brilliant way. And at its core, Titans is kind of the sidekick team from the DC universe. So you've got Robin in this show, particularly, you've got Robin, Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy. And yeah, these characters, you're like, well, I don't give a shit about any of them when I started watching it. But by the end, I was hooked. Other than a couple of weird pacing issues, I think of that episode specifically towards the end, which was focused on Hawk and Dove. Weird place for that episode to be. But other than that, I absolutely loved this. And I think that final episode we got is like the best DC thing I've ever watched, as in TV or film. Yeah.
I really wanted to know why, but it was so awesome.
Dude, it was so good. I mean, I will just say this. It's the best Batman thing I've ever seen. Not read, but like ever watched. And the fact that he's like not in it and it's still the best Batman thing you've ever seen, it's just like, oh my God, that was incredible. That was incredible. It's coming back for a second season, and they did some interesting things. There's actually, the season actually had another episode, but they were so happy with how it had gone. They decided to cut that episode from the end of season 1 to leave season 1 on this pretty dramatic cliffhanger. And then they're going to bring that final episode will be the first episode of season 2.
Oh, that's interesting, because it did feel like that. I thought, well, as awesome as that was, that feels like it's ended a bit too soon. But yeah, that's why then.
Yeah, and then they put in that post-credit sting, which, by the way, without any spoilers, was incredible as well. And I just can't believe that they're doing that character. I was absolutely in shock that they have the balls to do that character.
I don't think I saw that. There's a sting at the end of the credits.
There is, my man. Yes. So there's about another 2 minutes after the credits.
I need to go back and see.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't spoil it then, because you'll watch that and you'll be like, they're gonna actually put that on TV. That's insane. And take it seriously at least to a degree. It's incredible. But no, make sure you go and watch that. But absolutely blown away by the production. I'm excited to see what they do with the next show they've got. They've just showing off the Doom Patrol trailer, just aired, I think, yesterday, which was introduced in the Titans, which was the Doom Patrol characters. Did you spot those? Do you know what I'm talking about, Rich?
Yeah.
So I know you're not first.
No, I didn't know them before watching Titans, but I did read up on it.
I wouldn't call myself an expert.
Patrol characters, isn't there? I think the cast is quite varied, and
is
the one consistent character in there.
Brendan Fraser, Alan Tudyk, Timothy Dalton are going to be in the show. These are some big names. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. So Robot Man, that's Brendan Fraser.
Is it?
Right. Yep.
No way.
Yep. Crazy. The one with the one that looks like Invisible Man, but it isn't called Invisible Man. I can't remember what they call him. That's Alan Tudyk. And then Timothy Dalton will be playing the professor guy. They've recast him, and he'll be the leader of the group. So basically,
they cast these names and then just cover them up totally.
It's bizarre, isn't it? It's like Brendan Fraser's the robot guy, and he's actually the robot guy in that episode as well.
Yeah.
And you've got to ask why. So all I can assume is that he will be showing his face more going forwards. Yeah. So very, very cool casting. They seem to really be nailing it right now, DC, with TV. But they've got Swamp Thing coming as well, which is an absolute, if it's based on the Alan Moore run, an absolute classic comic book. So that could be very, very good. They've got Stargirl, which is from the JSA, and that's going to be set in the 1940s. So that could be really interesting. So very different tones. It's good to see what they're producing, and whether or not we actually get the DC service over here, I don't know, but it seems like quite a cool idea. But on the other hand, if you're already paying for Netflix, it's pretty awesome that you get all of this stuff.
That's it. I was going to say, I kind of hope we don't, if it's just going to appear on Netflix anyway.
Really cool. So before we get into games, one thing I wanted to mention was, as of this Friday, yesterday, The Expanse, all 3 seasons are now on Amazon Instant Video, which is the new home for The Expanse. And if you haven't watched this, if you haven't caught up on this, season 4 is coming later this year. It is the best piece of sci-fi on television right now, and that's including Night Flyers, of which I got 20 minutes into on Netflix and thought was an utter pile of shit. Check out The Expanse. It's brilliant, just brilliant. An incredible adaptation of some very good books.
I saw someone else say exactly the same thing on Twitter. Best sci-fi around at the moment.
How much have you seen?
I watched like the first episode. Me and Sarah watched the first episode and
mate.
couldn't get into it.
Mate, you've got to please.
I'll go back to that later. I'll maybe watch it without Sarah and then just
please.
never did.
You'll love it. Mate, you'll love it. It's so good. It's so good, honestly. I understand what you're saying. It is a bit... There is some big ideas in The Expanse that sometimes are hamstrung a little bit by lack of budget, though I think they do a really good job of getting around it a lot of the time. But it is quite a slow burn. But once you get in, it doesn't take that long in season 1, but once you start getting into things and really get into those characters, it will propel you forward. Obviously, was easier for me because I'd read the books. So it's like I knew what was coming, you know, and therefore I knew... And I was interested to see how they were going to split things into the seasons. And they actually do interesting things with the season, how it will end in different places to the way the book ended, just to play with cliffhangers and stuff like that. But no, it's absolutely fabulous. And it's well worth supporting and watching. And it's so cool that Amazon has it now. And, you know, they're going to put the money into it because Bezos is supposedly a massive fan, which is why he picked it up very quickly. So,
all right.
Yeah. That'd be why.
Well, it does mean me getting another subscription, I suppose, because I don't have...
You see, I do because I buy a lot of stuff from Amazon, so it just makes sense for the delivery. But yeah, that's anything else you wanted to mention?
What else have we seen?
I'm sure there's loads I'm forgetting. Yeah, loads. I mean, Aquaman happened, didn't it? So
I didn't see that though. Haven't seen.
You didn't see Aquaman? Okay, it's good fun. It's good fun. Spider-Verse happened, which was incredible.
Didn't see that.
Oh, mate, dude, that's like one of the best superhero things I've ever seen. Full stop. Incredible. Another thing, but we haven't podcasted in a while, and the last one we did was, of course, the Game of the Year one, so we didn't have much of a chance to chat about stuff then either. But lots of things. There's always a million things to watch, so we'll have to get back into the swing of making a mental note so we can discuss it on the next time we podcast.
It's been so long since we did one of these shows. I'd normally like take a mental note to think, right, I must mention this next time. And I just haven't. I've been watched so much stuff, but I can't remember what now.
Yeah, that is kind of the problem, isn't it? It's like you consume everything now at such a rate, and but you also have to kind of like flush it through because you have to make room for the next thing because there's so goddamn much of it. I'll mention that I finally got around to watching last night the amazing documentary Senna on Ayrton Senna's life because I'm getting ready for the 2019 Formula One racing season, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch this because I've never got around to watching it. It came out in 2010. And it's heartbreaking and beautiful and just shows off his talent and his untimely death. And it really hit me because it's like he died at the age of 34, triple world champion. And I'm 35 now. And it's just to look at that man's talent and be like, man, that's just horrible. That's just horrible,
How many championships have you won?
I have several championships in playing inordinate amounts of video games. So obviously that's the achievements that count in life, Richard.
2 words. Why him?
What do you mean, why him?
Should have been you, mate.
Should have been me. Dead on that. Trust me, if I was driving a Formula One car at 300 miles an hour or whatever towards that corner at Imola, I'd also be dead. Yes, I can guarantee I would also be dead. Yes.
Obviously, no, small print is not funny there since Senna died.
No, it's not funny. I was talking to the wife, because we haven't witnessed a death in F1 since we started watching. We actually started watching the year after Jules Bianchi died, which was the last one in around 2013, 2014. And I think I would be utterly destroyed if I saw any of those race drivers that I've now followed so closely over the last few years die on the track. It'd be horrible. It'd be the worst thing. So yeah, it would really affect me. So hopefully that never happens again. And to those people that say, "Oh, Formula One's boring. There's not as much danger in it as it used to be," you guys can all fuck off because it's messed up. Like it's messed up when people die doing that. But on that note, let's talk about video games.
Okay. Oh no! Can I just mention one thing? I've just remembered something I saw that I want you to see. Yeah. Have you seen Russian Doll on Netflix?
I haven't. And do you know what put me off? I watched the trailer and I thought, oh my God, as an hour-long show, 10 episodes repeating things, I don't want to watch that. And then I found out it was only 30 minutes. And I'm like, do you know what? Yeah. I might watch that now.
Yeah, so it's worth it. Totally worth it.
It did look good. It looked really funny. So I'm going to give that a go. Yeah, I love Groundhog Day. I love anything that plays with that concept. I always think it's as long as a character at the center of it's interesting enough, it can be a very cool exploration of that character's facets of their, of their mental health and stuff. So I'm well up for watching that. Yeah,
got such range as well. There's bits in there you think, fuck, this was hilarious 20 minutes ago, and now it's so dark. Like, it's
cool.
really awful shit happens in that series.
I'm down.
But yeah, it's really good. I think you'd enjoy it. Anyone that enjoyed the Bandersnatch special on Netflix, the Black Mirror thing, like, you obviously don't get the choices in that, the choose your own adventure stuff, but has a similar vibe. And
It's weird. The more I think about Bandersnatch, the less I like it. So I don't know. It doesn't hold up as a piece of, broadcast entertainment. It works as an experiment, but I don't think the writing or the characters are there at all. So I just, I've grown to dislike it more.
Bandersnatch works, but it's one of those things that you couldn't really rewatch it because the interaction side of it just becomes laborious.
Do you know what? It terrifies me that Netflix keep talking about how they're going to use this more and more, this technology. It's just they shouldn't. Please don't. You've done it. You've done it now. You don't need to do it again. And they're getting sued by the Choose Your Own Adventure company. Have you heard about this?
No.
So the people that published
now, have they?
No, it's the book. It's the format of the books, right? Like those Choose Your Own Adventure books. I can't remember what publisher it is, but they're published by a specific publisher. And Netflix approached them a whole bunch to get permission to use the concept, and they said no. And they did it anyway because it's fucking Netflix. So they're being sued over it. Yeah. So that was quite amusing, I suppose. Everybody loves a good bit of suing nowadays. If you can sue over a dance, you can sue over the idea of choice, I suppose.
That's mental.
Yeah, that's the dance stuff that kicked up about a month ago. I haven't got it on the news stuff, but did you read about that?
Is this about Carlton dance?
Yeah, not just that, but there's about 3 or 4 of them now. There's the backpack kid and the is that the floss? I can't remember which one it is he does, but yeah, they're all suing because none of them gave permission, even though the law states you can't copyright a dance
specific
routine.
Body movements can't be privatized, can they? I just but at the same time, it's like from the other perspective of the creators and stuff, is that all right, you can't copyright it, but Epic could have given you some money knowing how much they were going to make from it. They could have bunged you a little check just to say thank you for this, just as an acknowledgement of where it came from. Do you know what I mean? But they aren't willing to share a penny of what they make. So it's a bit we'll talk about Epic in one of the news stories actually coming up. So let's get into games. Let's talk about the 2 big demos or betas or beta demo. Does it matter what we call them anymore at this point? I mean, too many air quotes. You've just added 5 years to your life, Ben.
I have. That's how it works. So the Anthem demo happened twice over the last month. Once, which was considerably better than the other time, and then we've also had the Division 2 beta. So don't tell me what the difference between a beta and a demo is in this situation, because the Anthem demo was far less stable than the Division 2's beta. So
I can tell you what the difference is. The
marketing.
Some of the letters are different.
Okay,
at least 3 of them.
Well, they're both 4-letter words,
but
they have changed some of them around a little bit. It's true. So let's talk about Anthem first of all, because I know you've played that. Well, you tried to play it with me the first weekend. So we had the VIP demo, and it was a clusterfuck of epic proportions on EA part, to the point where the server load was so huge it didn't just take down Anthem, it took down all of their games. Every EA server was crashed for a while there that weekend, which indicates how much demand there was for people wanting to play that, but it also indicates a complete lack of foresight on EA's part as to.
Well, does it? They said otherwise.
Well, of course they said otherwise, but are you kidding?
Yeah.
they could not have had the servers in place. They just couldn't have done.
They claim they had loads more capacity than they actually used. But
that seems
I don't know how that can possibly be the case, because it was a shit show, wasn't it? I don't know about VIP demo. It was more like
PIV.
HIV.
HIV. You could. Do you want to go with that joke? You want to make an AIDS joke right now, Richard?
Yeah,
go for it, mate. Yeah.
Well, no, you said the AIDS. I'll go with very intermittent participation demo.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I like that. I know what you were thinking, though. Don't deny it. You're just as bad as me. I don't want to stress too much on those technical problems, because the week later they opened the demo up, and when I played it again that week, it was a much better experience. So I think they looked at the problems and they addressed them, so that was kind of great that they did that. There was another weekend they could test it on. So hopefully when launch comes around in over a week's time, we're going to have a smoother experience. That's the hope. We'll wait and see what happens. But it wouldn't be the first time that servers crap the bed on a launch weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But they're also doing this thing with almost like a tiered release, because it's in EA Access, it's on Origin Premier Access, it's on Origin Access, and then it actually gets a proper release date, which is a whole another mess that EA has now created with the way they release games over the period of like 3 weeks. I don't even understand it, most of it, but it's a bit confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit.
What did you actually think
of the game itself?
Of the actual game itself, yeah. I really like it a lot, personally.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's got some promise. I thought what you actually do isn't that interesting. How you actually do it is a little bit more interesting. So I like the flying around. I like that is limited. So you've only got a short window of time in which to fly before you're not really fuel, because you can recharge immediately. But you've got a bar that sort of counts down to show how much longer you can fly for before you touch down to the ground. Have to run about a bit, which does force you to run around. So it's an important mechanic, I thought, to keep that in there. Wondering if that's maybe something that will be adaptable in the full game, so you can fly longer, harder, quicker with different builds. But yeah, the basic concepts that you can sort of dart around vertically as well as the traditional horizontal exploration in these sort of games is really good. Shooting enemies and stuff like that felt okay. I don't think it's at the level of Destiny gunplay.
So did you play it again on the open weekend?
No, I just played the.
So there was some distinctive like input lag issues, I think, on that VIP demo. Like frame rate was severely affected,
very bad,
and then gunplay was okay, but it felt a lot better when I was in the alpha test from a few weeks back or months before that, and then a lot better again in the open demo. I think there were a lot of issues with just feel caused by the technical problems. Right. So I think the gunplay felt considerably better on the open demo, for example. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
That's good to know, because I think when we first played it, what I said to you was, I'm enjoying it, but I was expecting this to have a lot of polish, given the level of focus that's on this and the importance of the game to EA and what it's competing with. This needs to feel silky smooth, and it didn't at the time. So yeah, fingers crossed they'll fix that. But what did you think of the missions and stuff themselves? It's not groundbreaking, is it? Really?
So I started digging in a little bit more in the open demo the following week, and I actually found what I found really good was the Fort Tarsis stuff. The quality of the kind of character writing and actual characterization that started to become apparent, because it's Bungie, it's not Bungie doing it, it's BioWare doing it, which is the big difference, is that BioWare has got pedigree when it comes to writing characters, and while it's not maybe Mass Effect level, because how could it be, in a way, because that was 3 games with it's your character plus, while it wasn't always the same supporting characters, a lot of them did reappear, and it creates a connection with them. So I think it's hard to sort of judge how well you're going to enjoy these characters from such a short snippet, but I certainly laughed at one moment, which was, I thought, really well done, with one character getting split into 3 facets of his own personality because of some weird artifact thing, and I thought that was really amusing and worked really well, and was well written and had me smiling and like, oh, that's a cool premise to go and do a mission. I've got to try and bring his personality back together. I've not seen that before, so I was kind of down for that. That's the thing that has me most interested, actually, is the world they've created. I think the world of Anthem feels truly unique. It's this mishmash of fantasy and sci-fi, and we don't quite know what it is or where it is. And I can't wait to explore and discover more about that world. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing for me, is that this is a living, breathing world, because that's what we've been sold in the videos that we've seen so far, is a world that's so detailed and so richly inhabited, and something that you want to go out and explore from top to bottom. So if it delivers that, then great, I'm in.
Yeah, totally. I think, when you're talking about the gameplay, there's just the little things, like how you'd take a little running jump before you started flying, because it just felt
Yeah,
right. It just felt like what you should do. You
that's
don't
a
have to
smart.
do it,
Yeah, and it
but
doesn't tell you to do it. You just
nope.
sort of work out, no, that feels good. And
Yeah.
you just get your own rhythm of jumping off, launching, and yeah, it just feels right. Like you say, it's well paced.
In the open demo, I was had all the javelins unlocked from the start for me, so I was able to I jumped into 3 of the 4. The only one I didn't try was the like really lightweight scouty one. But I tried like the big elemental damage storm one, and I tried the big heavy colossus one as well. And they all play and feel very different, and they all feel very cool in their own ways. They've all got big, showy, different ultimate abilities. Yeah, they just felt and played distinct. And I really dove into the customization elements as well. And there is so much you can customize on your javelin. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, just every material, every color, different vinyls. Like, you're going to be able to really express yourself, which I enjoyed a great deal, as an aspect of that as well. I'm really excited about this, Richard. I mean, I can understand you're more like cautiously optimistic, and that's fair.
I'm usually one to give in to hype, but I think the demos made me a little bit wary. So
Maybe
yeah,
more realistic. Maybe you're
yeah,
yeah, that's understandable. But I think, like you said, if this world clicks and it offers enough variety and exploration and sort of stuff like that, I think it could be really exciting. And for me, what will be important is, does the game work in single player as well as it works in multiplayer? Obviously,
that is quite an important thing for me, being friendless.
yeah. Well, being old men, we
Yeah.
often have limited amounts of time to game, and you have to sort of get it where you can, and it's not always possible to like hook up with 3 other dudes or whatever at that moment, and you still want to dive in there. And there's a lot of these shared world shooter experiences around right now, because we're about to talk about another one, which you haven't had a chance to try yet.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about it in a bit less detail because I couldn't get on the server. But Division 2, the beta is out.
Yeah, you had a bit of bad luck because you just happened to try and get on while they were performing maintenance, which is
Yeah.
unlucky. But I got on the day it started, which was Thursday. I want to say yes, Thursday. And I had a couple of little issues because it was just kicking off, and I think the servers were just getting worked out and stuff. And there's a few little bugs in there. But it didn't take me too long, and I got going and I got into the game. And it's interesting because they have done something cool that is immediately different to what sometimes you see from these sequels. So what comes to mind for me is Bungie and Destiny 2. So Destiny 2 comes out, and it seems to have sort of wound back the clock a little bit on where Destiny 1 had got to with the interface, with how things worked, with unlocks, whereas Division is a direct next step, direct evolution as to where the game had got to in the Division 1 as of right now. So it's not like they're wiping anything away. The Division 2 is continuing the evolution of that game, that first game, from this very moment onwards. So all of the things that you've done to improve the game over the years it's been out, to change how it plays, like fundamentally how it plays, that game has changed a lot since it launched.
Yes.
But this is continuing that evolution. And one of the things that the developer said is that they would like to have not done a sequel and would have actually liked to have just continued to develop the platform, but it was sadly too restrictive, and they needed to update the engine and update the back end so that they could actually set up a platform for that going forwards.
Yeah.
So I think the Division 2 will be a living experience for some time based on what they've been saying. And obviously we've got a big change in environment in being set in Washington, DC in the summer.
Key change, isn't it? Location is a big change for this.
The thing I noticed immediately is it gives loads more variety.
Yeah.
Because Washington has those city bits. You know, it also has lots of open spaces. It has some residential areas, so it gives you a bit more to do and a bit more places to go than just New York City. Don't get me wrong, I loved New York City in the Division 1. I thought it was an amazing environment to shoot my way around.
Definitely.
But I was immediately interested in in Division 2 because your base of operations is the freaking White House, Richard.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the thing with DC. There's
So cool.
obviously, I'm not going to say New York doesn't have landmarks, but there's something about DC that is just iconic, and
Yeah.
running around that is going to be awesome. And like you said, there is so much variety in that, and that was obvious from the first trailer when we saw opening shots that in what appeared to be a sort of jungle environment
Yeah.
turned out to be an enclosed garden somewhere in
Yeah.
DC.
Yeah.
There's going to be so much stuff to see in this. I'm excited to try it out.
They've done a lot to expand. I didn't want to overplay this beta because it's like I know I'm going to play the game, so I don't want to play all these missions 12 times or something. But they've done a lot to expand the safe house mechanic. Now there are missions tied into updating the safe house and upgrading the safe houses you find, which will then affect the upgradability of your base of operations. Like you can then recruit people from those safe houses to work at the White House, which will all goes into expanding your repertoire, your skill sets, your weapon abilities, and all kinds of other elements of the game. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert because I haven't actually deep dived into everything they've said they're going to bring into the Division 2. I know they're making changes to the dark zones. There's multiple dark zones now. There's lots of tweaks and quality of life improvements in there. But at its core, it's still the Division, and it's still immediately played like and reminded me of the original, but not in a bad way. In a this is an evolution, and it feels like it's definitely enough of a sequel. You know, the location change is the big thing, but you know, the gunplay still feels really good. Like I still really enjoy the setting. I love the concept of being this Splinter Cell good guy operative. You know, I hope they really expand the world lore a bit more, because I always found like there was some great overarching stuff within the Division 1 storyline about the dollar flu, and I hope they really build upon that and the rogue agent elements. And I just like the whole kind of Tom Clancy-ness of it. You know what I mean? It's really good fun and dark and overwrought and super serious, and it kind of, you know, you remember watching have you seen much Tom Clancy films and stuff, Richard? Like Summer War Fears? Okay,
No,
you've
not
never
really.
seen Summer. Well, so one of his characters, Jack Ryan, shows up and has been played by I think 4 different actors at this point, but shows up a great deal throughout these films. And there's always like this escalating sense of threat from anything Tom Clancy does. And obviously Tom Clancy's been dead for somewhat time now, and you know, he sold his name to Ubisoft so they can continue to use it before he died. And the main thing is that it's always escalating. It's always getting worse. It's always getting more dire and more serious, to the point of, in Sum of All Fears, they actually set off a nuke in that movie, and it like takes out a whole city. So it's kind of like, that's the feeling you get with the Division. It's just going to keep building and building and getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. And you're the only person that can save the day. You know, your group of Division agents. And it's a cool setting. It's exciting. And I'm looking forward to getting back into that sandbox. Yeah.
Me too. Does it look as good as what we've been shown? Because Anthem notably doesn't, does it? It's not living up to...
Once again, the open demo looked so much better than that private one, Rich. Honestly, yeah. I was going out into that world and standing there looking at vistas and skyboxes and going, yeah, that does look really good. I think that VIP demo was completely balked. So no, the division looks nice. I had some technical problems with the audio when playing the beta, but I think they'll iron all of that out for release. It looks like a great photorealistic representation of DC, you know, from what I've seen of DC. I've never been to DC in America, actually.
It's good.
Yeah, worth the visit.
Yeah, well, maybe not at the moment, but maybe after 2020.
Well, you say that, but fingers crossed. But yeah, so that's kind of the 2 demo betas we've been playing in the last couple of weeks. Should we get into a little bit of news before we wrap up this now shorter format podcast?
A bit of news. All right, go on.
Bit of news. So Microsoft is I think quite intelligently pushing out the brand. They have plans to expand Xbox in a more visible way onto iOS and even the Nintendo Switch and other mobile platforms and things like that. Anything that'll have them, basically. They know it's an important thing for them, and they're getting it out there. What do you think about this, Richard? Do you think this is the right way to go? Sometimes I see you playing things like solitaire on your phone, getting achievements.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like more of that.
Yeah, well, I've been an early proponent of Xbox Live expansion because I got Windows Phone 7 when it came out, and there was a big push for achievements on phones when that was launched. Obviously, it didn't work in the way that they wanted because that's a dead platform. But yeah, I'm totally sold on the idea. Is the point? I love the idea that I can get Xbox achievements wherever I go on various devices. This isn't actually all that new of a thing because we've had achievements on iOS and Android already.
Yeah.
On games like Wordament. I think there might be a few other bits and bobs knocking around with achievements. Even on Switch, actually, Minecraft has Xbox achievements already. So yeah, they've been working on this for a while. It sounds like they're talking about it more to make it more of a consistent thing rather than the odd title here and there, which is a good thing, I think.
There's some numbers here. So they want to go from 400 million gaming devices to over 2 billion using the new cross-platform XDK or Xbox Development Kit. So that's like, yeah, they want it on everything, everywhere, all the time.
I mean, the temptation is to think, well, does this make their own gaming platforms irrelevant? But to me, it makes it feel as if they're signposting people to the Xbox platform and just getting their tentacles everywhere. When they've talked about examples like Warframe, if you can play Warframe on anything now, but if you're playing it on Xbox as your main platform, and then you want to continue the experience on Switch, then you can still get your Xbox achievements on Switch. So it makes the Xbox, which is what they've always wanted to do, isn't it? With the whole Connect and the TV service thing, make it the center of your entertainment experience. It's making that come true through a slightly different avenue, focusing on the games element, making everything feed back to your Xbox experience.
It's a great way of flipping the story and beating PlayStation because they're however many tens of millions ahead of PlayStation. So well, Xbox comes around and goes, well, great, but I'm on 2 billion devices, so good for you. But talk to me when you're serious about this gaming thing you're trying to get into, which I think is which is this great way of just sort of telling them to F off, And in addition, they're really on the offensive. They are really on the offensive right now with marketing, with positioning, with branding. The fact that they're not got competition at this year's E3 from Sony, which means that they have potential to dominate. I think if they connect that with some good hardware announcements and some big first party title announcements, they'll just dominate the summer for news and have a very, very strong 2019 off the back of it. It's the right play from them. Let's not focus. And to be honest, it's I'm amazed it didn't happen sooner. They've always had that through Microsoft into all these platforms. And now they're finally really leveraging it. A little bit of a news that came out of the Xbox Insider that just aired last week was that they're rebranding the game studios as well to no more Microsoft Game Studios. It's going to be Xbox Game Studios. So they're really pushing the brand that wins in the consumer market, which is Xbox. So yeah, smart moves. I tell you who's also made a smart move. Bungie has decided to split from Activision. Now, this happened a little while ago now. This happened actually in January, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it. But I thought Richard may have some things to say. So this is Bungie, famous for being bought by Microsoft many years ago to secure Halo for the original Xbox platform launch. And that went really well until it didn't. And then they were like, we want to be independent. We don't like this. And then they got bought by Activision. And that went really, really well, in their 10-year plan. They got 6 years in and went, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. So they've now quit from Activision.
Were they bought by Activision? They are independent, aren't they? But they've got some sort of publishing deal with Activision.
It was not. I mean, it was maybe not quite a full buy, but it was very close. It was more than just a deal, a publishing deal. For all intents and purposes, they gave up their independence because the only thing they had money to make, was Destiny, which was the only thing they produced until they actually got some outside investment from. Was it Tencent? I know it was. It wasn't Tencent, but it was another Chinese big conglomerate, that's trying to take over the world. And they put money into Bungie to develop games for the Chinese market. But now they've properly split from Activision. They're going to continue to support Destiny 2, I suspect, for not that much longer. And then maybe we see a Destiny 3, or maybe we don't. I don't really know. I mean, it's probably... You can't blame all the problems of Destiny on Activision, but it certainly didn't help. There were pressures from the publisher there to hit certain financial milestones, to bring in, would Destiny have had so much in the way of microtransactions if it hadn't been for Activision? That's the kind of the question. And while the microtransaction in Destiny aren't egregious, it's still it's a poor look, in a gaming sort of world, which is now looking less and less favorably at microtransactions. So
I'm not sure it would be any different, I mean, there's always money men to worry about these things. It just so happens that Activision was the man worrying about it. Now Bungie is. So, is it really going to change? They've still got a turn of profit in this business. They're not going to suddenly just stop all of this because players don't like it. It's their neck on the line now, not Activision's.
No, that's fair. And I mean, it's also a big responsibility, right? Because you can, it's a very different business being just a video game developer to being a video game publisher. So, it's a lot of new challenges that Bungie will now have to face if they do decide to bring out, say, a Destiny 3. There's a lot more behind the scenes that they will have to take care of that Activision would have been the ones taking care of, before this split. So it's going to be an interesting evolution of what is Bungie. You could almost see them getting bought again by a platform holder, couldn't you?
Yeah, or at least sort of getting closer ties with where they've come from. There was notable congratulations from Xbox and Microsoft at this news, which was reciprocated and welcomed by Bungie. So I wonder what's happening under the surface there.
Well, Microsoft and Xbox are spending the money. They're buying the studios up left and right. It'd be hilarious if they went back under that umbrella. I mean, you had your fun away from home, but look, you're 27 now, and it's 2019, which means you've got to come back home. Yeah. That's just the way it is. You tried your little go out in the big wide world, and it didn't work out. That's all right. The spare room can be yours again.
And it's not like they need to come back and do Halo even, because there's a dedicated team.
Do you know what? If they brought them back and made them do Halo, it'd be like, yeah, you'll fucking like it. No more complaining from you. You're so funny. Yeah, you're living under our roof now. You do what we say. Or they could go exclusive to Mac, go right back to the origins, like where Marathon was, if they wanted to, obviously that famous gaming platform, the Apple Mac. So that'll be a good choice for them. So it's been some sort of weird. There's been a few splits and acrimonious decisions recently, and another one that's drawn, I think, some unduly sort of vitriolic interest from corners of the internet was Metro Exodus and their publisher Deep Silver decided to make a deal with Epic's new game launcher. And make Metro Exodus exclusive to the Epic platform for a year. After, it's important to note, this game was available to pre-order on Steam for quite some time. Like, it's been up there for months, basically. And they now are exclusive. They're going to honor those pre-orders. They're going to honor any purchases made. They will be honored. Those people will get keys on the Epic launcher to play the game. But there has been some serious backlash to this deal. And it almost, I've seen some great memes about, PC Master Race. Oh, but they're taking on board the worst things that you could from the console people, which is platform wars. And it's like,
this is why it's so funny, because all those years that PC Master Race people have sort of elevated themselves above like the Mega Drive and SNES battles and thought
Xbox and PlayStation and
all you fucking console kiddies, you should move to where the grown-ups are and just everything's open and do what you like. And squabbling over whether it's on Steam launchers or not, really sad, isn't it?
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I have the Epic launcher on my PC that I'm currently doing this show with you on, and I also have Steam.
Yeah.
I only have one game in Epic, which is Hades by Supergiant, because I wanted to support them in early access, and it's very good. It's a pretty lightweight launcher, and yeah, it doesn't have all the huge amounts of features Steam does, but a lot of people would argue that Steam is a bloated mess. Yeah. It's full of shit you don't use. I never use the friends stuff. I never look at the community tabs. I never go into all that crap you get in your inventory, from sales and stuff and gems and trading cards and all that crap. I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want to play my fucking games. And that's the thing you can do on the Epic launcher with a lot less fuss. Like, why do people have this ridiculous loyalty to Valve, who hasn't put out a flipping video game in forever? Like, do you not remember how they screwed you on Half-Life? How you've never had a conclusion to that? How about the year?
The last thing you put out, episode 2.
No, I mean they've done Left 4 Dead and stuff like that, but themselves, I can't think of any other big games they've done. They do. Is it League of Legends? That's them, or Dota or something. They buy people up now. They buy studios up that make games. So it's kind of like Valve doesn't really make games anymore. And let's not forget the year after year of terrible customer service from Steam. It's like every year the reports are this is one of the worst companies for actually doing the right thing by the consumer. Every single year. Now, there is one distinct criticism of the Epic launcher, and that is price parity. It doesn't do regional pricing yet. They're going to be bringing it in, but that means, everything is priced at USD, and then it uses a price, basically your exchange rate is how it works out how much that is in your country, which can be very, very bad for you if you live in countries that get screwed in the US exchange rate, to your local currency. Now, this is something that GOG had a problem with and took them a couple of years to address, but they did it. Epic has been around for about 5 minutes, and they're going around aggressively buying up exclusives. They will be working on that platform, and things like that will get better. But yeah, platform exclusivity, first of all, so one side is like, who cares if it's on Epic or Steam? But more importantly, why are we dealing with exclusivity on PC launchers? This is stupid, isn't it? I mean, this is still a PC game. Why can I only buy it from Epic? Or why could I only buy it from Steam? Vice versa. It's dumb. It's super dumb, yeah?
I don't know if it's just the reality, isn't it? But just having a problem with that is naive. I mean, it's like walking down a high street and complaining that there's 2 shops,
Yeah, sure, yeah. I can only buy, those particular biscuits in Tesco's. Why can't I buy them in Sainsbury's?
Yeah, why aren't Percy Pigs down Tesco's? Well, just deal with it. Go to Marks and Spencer's.
I see. No, that's fair. I mean, the pricing thing for me is the one real problem. It also, as it's a new launcher, it doesn't have things like cloud saves yet. It doesn't have a lot of features that are quite useful that are on Steam. But they will come. And the worst thing is, right, I was quite deep in the Metro subreddit around, because of the preview we did, and I was like getting to know the community a bit, and just, it was really positive. There was a lot of excitement. People were asking questions and stuff. It was really, really nice. And then it just devolved into this, every other post was just diving on the game now, just destroying it, just ripping it to pieces. And a lot of people saying, I'm not going to buy the game now, I'm going to pirate it. And it's just like, that's garbage. Like, this is so disgusting that these people that they're on the sub, so they have an interest in the game. They are actively looking into the game. They were probably going to buy it. And now they're saying things like, as a protest, I'm not going to buy it on PC. I'm going to pirate the game. And all you're doing is hurting 4A, the developer. You're not really affecting Deep Silver that much, the publisher who made the deal. Like, you're just creating this shitstorm of negativity that is completely unjustified. And yeah, it's just really bummed me out to see the message and the vibe change so dramatically from what was excitement into this big furore. And I think this has been a huge mistake on Deep Silver's part. They if they're going to make this deal, and it was clearly a short-term cash infusing deal,
they should have made it before it went on Steam.
Well, they should have made it months ago.
Yeah. That's the one part of the argument that I sort of empathise with. I mean, if I'd pre-ordered something on Xbox and suddenly they said, "Well, we know you've got a PlayStation, so we're going to send you a PlayStation 4 key," I'd be like, what? "No, I want to play it where I want to play it." So I sort of get it, but yeah, maybe
The
if they
timing
just
is bad because it's dominating the launch cycle for news now. In that, and that's what it's done. Is that they're trying to get. I'm watching their social channels. They're trying to get the message back on. You know, launching their different trailers and stuff like that, and getting people excited for the release of the game. But you know, like a month out from the game is when this news breaks of this launcher change, and it's like, oh, you just destroyed their entire kind of positive marketing plan here. I feel so bad for 4A and the PR guys, because it's just like, oh, you are gonna get hammered now, like, and it's gonna affect sales on PC. It's gonna do nothing for console. But I think the problem is Metro has been very strong on PC. It's kind of been
thing,
yeah, it's definitely come from a PC gaming background and has broken into console in the last few years mostly from the Redux releases on the current platform, I think. But yeah, I think it's going to really hurt them, and I think that's so unfortunate based on what I've played.
Saying that, when it was announced on the Xbox stage at E3, wasn't it? So
yeah, but they don't really have a PC stage, so it's kind of like they have that show, but it's terrible. So nobody goes on there if they don't have to. Yeah, so that's that. I just want to mention that because it's weird. It seems to be this developing problem. I think we're going to see Epic snapping up a lot more of this. They're jumping on these games, but yeah, the problem here was timing. With Metro, it was way too close to release, and that's the big issue that's come from this. Okay, final news story. It's kind of like a double header. Out of nowhere, Respawn, developers of Titanfall 2, announced and released a free-to-play, completely free-to-play, microtransaction-supported battle royale game, not in early access, I might add, but full release on Monday. And it was just like, here's this game, you can play it right now, and it's free. And it's made by Respawn, and it looks bloody awesome. And it's set in the Titanfall universe. Pretty cool. Pretty cool that we can still get these moments in gaming.
Yeah,
that,
it's rare, isn't it?
Yeah,
surprises like that.
Absolutely,
high-profile surprises. And
not some indie studio. Well. No, this is an EA game made by the guys that made Call of Duty. So huge.
Yeah. You haven't played it yet, have you?
I have not had a chance. I have been snowed under with illness all week, and it's been disgusting. And now I feel like I need to be a little bit more aware of myself when I'm playing a battle royale game. Like you need to be able to focus. But it's three squads of 3 only at the moment. Player limit of 60. Which may, there's things can change, develop with squads. They could bring in singles. They could bring in higher play counts. No Titans, which made me a bit sad. And no wall running and things like that.
No double jumps. No, it's it feels weird. I haven't played enough of it to really have a feel for it yet, and I think you and I getting on it together is going to have to happen at some point soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely relies on being part of a squad. Like you say, it's three players in a squad. It's not your traditional battle royale title. It's mixed with the sort of hero shooters that we've seen, like Paladins.
I love that you went for Paladins instead of Overwatch. Brilliant.
I just played that more recently, but yeah, Paladins, Overwatch, that sort of thing. But in a battle royale environment, so large map, decreasing circle, so everyone gets pushed towards the middle, and it's last man standing or last team standing wins.
A couple of differences. You can respawn in this game.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Sort of.
Yes. With a caveat. Yeah.
It's in the Titanfall universe. You can tell because a lot of the maps are directly lifted from Titanfall 2 or elements of them.
Okay.
You can see the environments. You think, oh, I've seen that before. Yeah, because it is a Titanfall 2 level.
Kind of like how Blackout does it in Call of Duty then.
I don't know. I haven't played that.
Yeah, well, basically they do that. They use their multiplayer maps as kind of like the set piece environments in the BR map. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, similar to that then, I guess. Yeah, you can sort of tell how they've got this out so silently. I guess that it probably would have had a reduced development cycle because they're using a lot of old assets. the way it plays, though, it's very different to Titanfall and Titanfall 2. So you mentioned that they've taken out the Titans themselves. They've taken out the wall running. They have explained why those things were in there originally, and they've taken them out after focus testing and just deciding that it sort of broke the experience. The whole point of Titans in the original Titanfall game and the sequel was that it was a sort of power fantasy. So you just call this Titan down when you got one ready to summon. You'd feel massively overpowered for a period until it sort of fell apart and got destroyed. But in this sort of environment, in a battle royale situation, it just felt too overpowered to the point that it broke the game. And anything that they tried to weaken the power of a Titan just sort of negated the point of having one in the first place. If it was so weak that it fell apart like cardboard, it's not quite the power fantasy that it was intended.
Do you know what they should do, Richard?
What?
It just came to me. They should do Mega Titans, like a Megazord. So you pull you call one down just for your whole squad, and all three of you get in and have to control different elements of it. Imagine how cool that would be.
Cool in theory, yeah.
Like you've got one guy drives, and the other two are controlling the different arm weapons, and I it's just
that would work about just as well as Sea of Thieves and the people that I've had to comment sort of steer boats with who want to blow up the fucking cargo. So yeah, I don't think that's going to work, mate, unless you've got a really good squad. But anyway, they've taken all that out, and the wall running has gone for similar reasons. It just made it unfair in that sort of environment. You can't tell where people are coming from. They wanted to make it much more of a what's the word? I suppose predictable environment where you can block off corners and strategize, work out where people are likely to come from, and organize your team around a plan. And you can't really do that if people can come from every single angle. So that's why they've taken that out. It makes it feel weird because it does still sort of look like Titanfall, but plays very differently to it. And they have changed the aesthetic a little as well, so it looks a little bit cel shaded. Like it's got
it's kind of cartoony, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a very Borderlands vibe, especially when you're opening crates of weapons and they've got the similar sort of light.
You know what that is, don't you?
What's that?
That's the influence of Fortnite.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean it's the most popular battle royale game on the planet, and it looks like a fucking child's wet dream. So yeah, I think that's clearly them looking and focus testing. Well, what resonates? We want to get as much of the youth demographic involved, don't we? So
I think it's partly that, but it might be a recognition that the engine it's running on isn't particularly modern either. It's showing
Source. It's modified Source engine, so it's very, very old.
It does look it. So if you're going to go for a more cel shaded, less realistic look, that's probably sensible given the age of that engine.
Definitely need to get on play. I mean, I'm very, very curious. So Monday was a roller coaster of emotions. So we had the big news of this game. Oh my God, Apex Legends. By the way, one of the worst titles for anything ever, because it's like the most generic combination of two words that don't have any relation together. Apex Legends coming out. Respawn. Oh my God, amazing. Oh, but what does this mean for Titanfall, guys? Like, you guys were working on Titanfall 3. That's what you said you were doing. Oh yeah, no, that's done. There's not going to be a Titanfall 3. This is what we're doing instead. And then everybody got really upset. Because Titanfall 2 is fucking amazing. An incredibly good game that came out at an incredibly bad time and was sent to die because it was sandwiched between a Call of Duty and a Battlefield game, which everybody was more excited for because the first Titanfall hadn't been multi-platform. But it's got an incredible single player and an incredibly good multiplayer. It's got a horde mode in there. It's got everything in there. And by the way, it's super cheap right now. And if you don't own it, go out and buy it. I'm
super cheap.
£3.70.
Xbox, yeah.
Flipping heck. And is that the fancy pants edition?
That's the ultimate edition for £3.70.
£3. Wow. Okay. That is incredible. Yeah, go buy that, because all these cool things we're talking about, if you haven't experienced them, these Titans and the wall running and the mobility are incredibly badass. And the best thing, like, you know, Richard was talking about the power fantasy of a Titan. Well, that's a fallacy, because if you're playing against anybody who knows what they're doing, your Titan's going to last about 2 seconds. But it is fun when your team. I always enjoyed last Titan standing anyway, when you all started in Titans.
Yeah,
I always liked that mode. That was a great mode. Anyway, yeah, Titanfall 3 isn't happening. However, Vince has come out, Vince Zampella, head of Respawn, and said, no, Titanfall 3, that isn't happening, but there is going to be another game this year set in the Titanfall universe. But he's being cagey. I think he's getting out there trying to manage the message a little bit as he got away from them because of the negativity about, no Titanfall 3. But, we're going to get something. Now, that could be an iOS RTS game, for all we know. Or it could be something that Respawn is good at, like a shooter. We can hope for the shooter. But yeah, I mean, there is more coming. They're not done with that universe because it is a cool universe. So, we'll see what that is later on as the year comes up. Maybe it'll be at E3.
Apex Legends has been very popular so far, so you kind of
millions upon millions upon millions, yes,
like loads. So hopefully that regenerates interest in the franchise. But
yeah,
they
maybe
didn't say Titanfall 3 is not going to happen, did they? They said they're not working on it.
Yep, that's correct.
Maybe we'll see it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Battle Royales are hot right now, obviously because of Fortnite more than anything. I mean, I'm still more of a PUBG guy, but it's a genre that makes sense getting into, and I am impressed with how much innovation is being shown in Apex Legends, that it isn't just another Battle Royale game. I mean, we touched upon the respawning mechanic, but that is a big deal. That basically when you die, as long as you've got one of your squad members alive, he can pick up like these respawn cards from your body, and then you can take them to these particular respawn points on the map, which can only be used once. So once, full stop. So you can only be used once by one squad, and once it's been used, nobody else can use it. So there's a strategic element to that. I can imagine people, after a heavy firefight in an area, another squad that survived can go and camp that respawn point and prevent other squads who have got one member surviving from coming back. So there's some strategy involved.
Or even camp the body itself to stop you picking it up.
Yeah, there's lots of interesting stuff there, and I mean, that means a battle royale game playing a bit differently. Because the thing is, normally when you die in a BR game, you're back to the main menu, you're jumping in again. With this, are you going to hang around? Do you think it's worth hanging around? Is your squad mate trying to get you back up? There's a little bit more of that going on. It's also got a really cool contextual button. I believe it's the right shoulder button, which you can point at things and call out stuff. If you're not using voice comms, it's actually very good at saying enemies over there, or you can even do it in your menu and be like, I need an assault rifle ammo, or, do you want my sniper rifle and stuff like that? And you can actually communicate very quickly and easily, even if you're not comfortable using voice communicator, which I think is a very smart development in 2019.
Yeah, and respond to comms as well. So if someone tells you, like, go over there, and you can press right bumper to go, all right. And it's just dead easy and simple, and
that's really cool.
No one's thought of that before, but it works really well.
I like the idea as well. When you're jumping into the level, you have a jump master who picks where you're going, and then you can all stick together, or you can separate and then be murdered. From what I've heard, do not separate. From what I've heard, bad idea, unless you're really god tier. But no, super cool. That the main thing for this game, there was a couple of rumors on the Friday beforehand that something was coming and it was Battle Royale and Respawn, but for only things to leak mere days prior to a big full release, I want to stress that, not early access. This game is finished and polished. They're going to evolve things, and I can understand the reason to release games like this in early access, because you can develop them along your community's desires to a degree, but at the same time, to get a full release with no warning from a big developer and a big publisher, that's cool, man. That's really cool. I look forward to more of that. We're going to play some.
Yeah, I think so. I'm definitely up for playing more of that. I think hopefully it'll be one that sticks with me, because I've been in and out of different Battle Royale shooters, and none have really held me. But yeah, I like Titanfall, and this looks like it's got an audience, so it's going to be sticking around for a while. Might be one to stay with. Yeah,
I'm always excited. I think we'll get Titans. I think we're going to get Titans down the road. I think that's something they'll bring in. They'll find a way. I really do. Even if it's a different map that's designed with Titans in mind. They've got a roadmap out. They're saying how every 3 months, basically, new characters, new maps. They're going to be really actively supporting it. It seems really cool. And it's the kind of thing where, it's that right balance of free to play with microtransactions where, I might, if I'm enjoying it, every month or so, every couple of months, maybe I'll put a few quid in there. maybe I'll get the battle pass this time. Maybe I'll buy a few characters or something. He sounds really cool. I'll buy him, you know, because they're offering so much out of the gate for free that it doesn't feel egregious. So I think they got the balance down pretty damn well. Right. I think that brings us to the end of the first episode of Experience Kills, Richard.
Oh, how did you think that went?
I think that went pretty well. Do you have fun?
I did. It was all right.
Yeah.
Apologies to anyone watching on video. I have been intermittently putting a Vicks inhaler up my nose.
Because you're an addict, a dirty addict.
I'm not even ill anymore. I'm just really enjoying it. So sorry for any kids that are watching. Don't do drugs.
Yep, I like that. It was a bit like a GI Joe PSA. It was I like that. Hey kids, Roblox says don't cut off your pet's feet. They need them. So it's like brilliant. Yeah, it's very helpful. So yeah, that was a good episode. I enjoyed that a lot. Please, like I said, get on Twitter, leave us some feedback. You can leave us some feedback on the comment section for this YouTube video, or leave us some reviews on iTunes, or I don't think you can leave reviews on Spotify, but by all means, you know, listen to us, watch us, however you want to consume us, but please like and subscribe. It really, really helps. We're doing this for you guys. We're doing this for more than anything, the people that are going to watch this are our subscribers, our reliable, good old faithful listeners and viewers who have been with us for some time. And I hope you're enjoying the new format, but just let us know if there's anything else you'd like to see from us. Coming up, we will definitely have some stuff about Metro Exodus, hopefully next week with a bit of luck. And then the following week, Anthem will be appearing, and we may, whether or not we'll have content for that the following week or the week after that, we'll see how it goes. And like I said earlier, Cameron's on board and he's doing lots of weird PC games. I try and give him something really different every week to look at. So he's done Hell Sign recently, which is this crazy isometric sort of horror investigating game, which is a bit strange. I can't even remember what he's looking at right now, but I give him anything and everything I can get my hands on that's a bit weird, because Cameron has a very interesting way of looking at things. Or one game he looked at that was really cool was 1 Hour, One Life, which is a really curious multiplayer survival game in which you only have the maximum of an hour. You start as a baby, you're born into this colony, and then you grow and you get older as this hour progresses until you pass at the very end of it. And you can then respawn, and you might come back into your same sort of genealogical line of that family you started with it, like maybe 20 or 30 or 100 generations later. Really curious little experience. You should definitely check out for the video for that. I was really impressed with the scope and the ambition of this little indie game. So yeah, give that a look. Yeah, Richard, really worth checking out, man. Like really weird, like, and cool. That was 1 Hour, One Life. It stuck with me, that one. That was from a few weeks ago. But yeah, we'll be back when we're back. When there's stuff we want to talk about, when there's news worth discussing, when there's bits and pieces that don't quite fit into a single game discussion, I think that's when we'll convene. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, just see what works, innit?
See what works, bruv.
See how it develops.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that. Let us know what you think.
Please do. See you all soon. XPK out!
Stop doing that. Bye.
Oh.